Councilman Johnson, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Councilman Johnson?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me okay?
He's here, but
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
It's legit. Yeah. So, okay. Walk down all of that thing. Okay. But no. I believe the conversation. Richard's gone.
I can hear you guys just fine. It's just, and I'm unmuted, so I don't know why you can't hear me.
I can hear him right there.
He
I just
said
heard
he
him.
can hear us, but he's talking and we can't hear him.
I thought I just heard him.
Let me hang out with you, Jeff, and see if you can hear me.
Pardon me?
Okay, Jeff, can you hear me through the audio in the room?
Oh, it looks like it's the challenge is on our end.
Okay. Do you just want me to leave the meeting and read it?
No, stay on the phone and we'll just keep you on speaker until we can get it resolved.
Okay.
testing. Richard, can you try talking again?
Yeah, I'm talking right now.
He's talking right now.
I can, okay.
I hear him through the phone.
We'll put you on speaker, Richard.
Well, that's not gonna work.
Well,
Why? Richard, can you talk now?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
He's talking.
he's talking.
This is what happens when I let.
Sorry.
No, it's,
Sorry.
there's no need to apologize to anybody.
I'm gonna reboot here.
Jennifer, was your computer system volume down, like on X or low, when you were sending it to those other
That's a good
speakers?
question. I mean, that's the whole thing. If somebody else used this room the other day.
Does it look like when you switched outputs, it looked like it was on the X and now it was full?
Okay, Richard, can you give it a shot now?
Are you talking into your phone?
Sorry, I just unmuted. Can you hear me okay now that it's unmuted?
Can.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks,
thank
Jeff.
you, TJ. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order with that thought. Welcome to the August 19th Finance Committee meeting. If you're joining us online, if you would use the raise hand feature to be acknowledged, and Jennifer will acknowledge you and let you know when you're able to speak. If you're joining us here in the committee room, when you approach the podium, if you would make sure that you identify yourself for the record, and if you would make sure that all of your devices are turned to manners mode. We will not discuss any additional business at the end of the completion of our agenda. So with that, Jennifer, if you'll read the first item.
Number 6A, transfer of ownership of retail liquor license application filed with the city clerk's office for 307 Racing Management Incorporated, doing business as 307 Racing, 3310 Ridge Road, Cheyenne, Wyoming. License currently held by Keg Incorporated, doing business as DT's Liquor Mart and Tusker Bar.
Staff report, please.
Madam Chair, Chris Jones, City Clerk, the application before you has been reviewed by the city departments and the Wyoming Liquor Division. A public hearing was held at the August 12th City Council meeting. I know there was a lot of information exchanged at that meeting, and I believe the representative is here again today if you have further questions. Just to clarify on something that was asked on Monday night, there are currently 3 retail liquor licenses in the park status, one for Scooters, Airport, and the Green Door. And there are actually 5 available bar and grill licenses, 1 in a park status. And I try to answer any of the questions you may have.
Hey, are there any questions or comments from a committee? Councilman White.
Madam Chair, through you, Mr. Ridgway, could I ask you a question, please? Thanks, Chris. Number one, thank you for being here again today, and thank you for all the information that you provided us at the public hearing. Very useful. I did want to ask you a question, and I'm getting this same question from a lot of constituents. What market research goes into play that warrants another one of these facilities? Because a lot of folks came up to me over the weekend and said, basically, you know, how many of these gaming places do we need? Can you speak to that? You know, what goes in, what type of research do you guys do to say, well, yeah, we could use another facility with 125 machines?
It's not, there you go.
Red means it's on. Okay. I kind of talked about this a little bit on Monday. So the purpose for this specific location for us is that we have excess demand at our existing facility with no more space for machines. If any of you've gone by that facility on a Monday, which is our fabulous 50s and up day, limited parking's available. We know when we add the bowling alley, which is going to be complete November 1 is our target date to be open. You're going to have a very, very busy facility. And there may be a lot of our customers that would prefer to go somewhere where it's easier to walk in than park at the back of the parking lot and compete with bowlers and people that want to go to the arcade, et cetera. So we do work with industry experts. We have a third-party consulting firm called Racing Resource, Inc., who has a good feel for the national pulse of historic horse racing and what markets can support. The entity that ultimately supervises saturation, which is what you're talking about, is the Wyoming Gaming Commission. By statute, for us to receive a permit, they have to determine that the market is not saturated. They did make that determination in for this specific location, I believe, mostly based on the study that we submitted from Racing Resource Group. And part of the study from Racing Resource Group was based on basically our own customer player data and the projections of the use for the facility we probably easily could have permitted that facility it's currently permitted for 200 machines, Pershing itself. We could have gone for 300 or 325 and it probably would have supported that. What that would have required us to do is eliminate some of the other entertainment options that we wanted as part of the construction project. So instead of doing that and adding more gaming to that, we looked for a geographically close location, but also far enough away and easier ingress and egress for people that would prefer the pure historic horse racing experience as opposed to the mixed entertainment facility that we're going to have at Pershing. So it's two different product offerings. I did explain on Monday, and for your constituents, it's probably important for them to know that the state of Wyoming through the Gaming Commission is currently performing a statewide saturation study with consultants. And pending the result of that study, which is supposed to come out this fall, I am sure that the Gaming Commission will be looking at different ways and have different data points for what they permit in the future. So I don't have a crystal ball for how that study is going to shake out. I've read other studies that other states have done. I would acknowledge that, this community, much like Casper, is probably close to that point. But at the same time, I believe we got permitted by the county and the Gaming Commission on the idea that this is to serve our existing customer base who prefers our product rather than the idea that we're going to bring new people to the market. It's just simply we have excess demand in our existing facility that we can't support in the square footage we have.
Thanks for that explanation. Much appreciated.
Follow-up question for Mr. Ridgway. I wasn't at that meeting on Monday, but I have been privy to the information. Mr. Ridgway, my question is, and I certainly don't want to put you on the spot, and your response could certainly be, conjecture, but I guess just a follow-up is, you mentioned that the Gaming Commission is working with a group to do sort of a saturation study. Do you happen to know what criteria they use in determining saturation or determining, a permit is allowed? Do you happen to know any of that criteria that they use? And again, I don't want you to have to speculate on that unless you do know, but I definitely think that's useful information as well. Just how do they determine what is saturation and what isn't? I mean, what are they looking at when they do that?
Just for clarification, when you say they being who looks at it, are you talking about the Gaming Commission themselves?
I believe I said the Gaming Commission.
Okay.
I'll restate my question if you'd like me to. Do you happen to know, Mr. Ridgway, when the Wyoming Gaming Commission issues the permits, like you said, you had to get a permit for this proposed facility? Obviously, the Gaming Commission probably has some kind of criteria to determine the feasibility, yes or no, on that permit. So do you happen to know what the criteria is that the Wyoming Gaming Commission uses to determine saturation versus not saturation?
So I would answer this question based on what my experience has been going to every single Gaming Commission meeting for the last 3.5 years. I can't tell you what they do in the office themselves and how the board talks. I can just talk about what I've seen at the public meetings. So first of all, we are required as part of our application to provide a feasibility study, which is what we do. We get through Racing Resource Group is who we use. The second thing that they do is they look at and converse with the county itself. Because if you've gotten an approval from the local entity, then that tells you that the locality tends to believe that there's more room in the market. And so they give some level of deference to that. I've seen in the past, if they go, well, if the locality approved it, then who are we to say? The county, or in this case, the Board of Adjustment as well. Because when we went in front of the Gaming Commission, we already had a conditional use from the Board of Adjustment. Then in addition, what they would look at is they have historical data of how much tax revenue is being generated from these communities. And what you're looking for when you're looking for saturation is there does the line start to flatten at some point, right? When the line flattens, when you have a new facility that's open, that tells you that all that's happening is you have, an exchange between the existing operators as opposed to an expansion of a new market. So as long as the tax revenue is continuing to go up, meaning handle and takeouts going up, then you haven't hit a saturation point. So the other thing they would look at for our particular facility is information related to what they call win per unit. So there are industry standards around how much per machine is generated. And then if those numbers are high for a facility, then that tells you have room for additional machines. So in this particular case, our win per unit at Pershing is pretty high for the industry, which indicates we could add more machines, but we have no space. So they have to take into account the types of products that are offered by the different competitors too. So I believe all of that goes into it. The other thing I think is important is I'm not aware of any other facilities after this one that are in play in Cheyenne. I mean, I guess there is a fourth operator that wants to open a racetrack, and I don't know what the Gaming Commission will do with that or what will happen with locations in this county based on how people analyze saturation. I think part of the reason we were approved is because we'd been working on this transaction since late fall 2023, and it just takes that long to get permitted. But there's not much pending in terms of new locations in this county that I'm aware of. I don't know that there's any that have a pending application or anywhere in the process at this point.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that information. Thank you. I just was more curious than anything as far as how the Gaming Commission assess those types of things. So that's helpful. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes, ma'am. So just so everybody knows which document I'm talking about, Mary Ann sent over, it looks like the resolution from the county. So if you guys have all that, I'm interested in section 7, Roman numeral 3. It says, based on evidence before the commissioners, the welfare of the people residing in the immediate vicinity of the permitted or permit premises is in fact adversely and seriously affected by 307's operations. So I wanted to kind of get an idea of what that means. So if we, because we get annually or at the council's request, the numbers from our police department on stops there, if that qualifies as something and what number or threshold that needs to reach before the welfare of the people residing in that area are affected. And I also had another thought that if it came to our city clerk's office that the neighbors were to file a petition in regards to the welfare, if that petition would be a credible document to forward on to the Laramie County Clerk's office to put before the commissioners of something that we received. So I'm just concerned on that one specific Roman numeral on what it classifies as base evidence.
Madam Chair, point of clarification. I think the email that Councilman Johnson's talking about was sent to all of us at about 11:30 this morning, so I don't think we've had a chance to read that other than Mr. Johnson. I don't even think that Jen has that yet, so.
I can answer the question. If it's helpful.
That'd be great.
Go ahead.
Councilman Johnson, so this is the only resolution like this in Laramie County for any off-track betting facility. None of the others have specific re-review rights for the county. So to defray some of the concerns to the extent there were any, which again, there was no public comment when we were in front of the county. We agreed, as we have in other counties, to allow the county to review our operation. And if we are such a problematic operator, then allow the county to go through something that would provide us due process, be it a contested case hearing or otherwise, to determine whether the facility needs to be closed. So I would say that standard, Councilman, of the welfare residing is the same statutory standard that you use to review liquor licenses every year. We did that on purpose because there's case law that interprets what you know, when you can or can't as a city revoke a liquor license based on the welfare impacting people in the neighborhood. So we tried to marry it to that same standard so that there was some guidance from the Wyoming Supreme Court about what that would mean. I'm not prepared to testify about what all those cases mean today, depending on the circumstance. And I did provide testimony on Monday about how the police calls issues potentially misleading for our Pershing facility. So I would say it was a good faith agreement between us and the county that they would have the ability to do that through a contested case process. So the same thing would theoretically apply here. The city automatically gets to review liquor license renewals every year. So if this transfer is approved, you're reviewing us every year as to whether we're causing problems in the neighborhood. And if you want to pull our liquor license, then there's a defined process related to that where we have due process rights to go through hearings and hear evidence and present our own, et cetera. And there's case law that interprets how that process works and when you can or can't revoke a liquor license. So at the end of the day, what's in front of you today is the transfer application itself and those standards that determine whether we can have a retail liquor license or not. Because we did go through notice and comment related to whether pari-mutuel wagering could exist at this location through the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, just to follow up then. So because I know that city code changed a couple of years ago, that it's not just an annual anymore, that we can pull a liquor license for review pretty much at the request. So I'm going to assume that if council through the clerk's office was to receive a petition by that neighborhood in regards to their welfare, that would, under the city code, give us the right to review that liquor license under our own review process that I guess is stated in code. Would you agree with that?
I don't know that I'm educated enough on how your ordinance process works in Cheyenne to say whether that'd be enough to trigger a hearing. In general, we would have due process rights related to any complaint and action that the city wanted to take if we were granted the license. So depending on what your ordinances say and what your council advises you, I mean, you could bring us in front of you and we'd be happy to present evidence. I think the point is that you do have to have more to pull the liquor license than just complaints from neighbors that they don't like it. You have to have actual evidence of a material adverse effect in the neighborhood. So there would have to be some sort of determination made through a hearing for that to work. But I think in general, conceptually, you're correct that you can ask us to come in front of you and have a hearing to pull our liquor license based on what your ordinances allow you to do.
Okay, so
Great.
just kind of a follow-up for the room. Stephanie, can you look into that before next Monday and kind of give us whether or not, if we were to receive a petition from the neighborhoods for, instances of public welfare on this license, and whether or not that would generate us the ability to pull the license for review?
She's shaking her head, yes. Councilman Johnson.
Very good. Thank you so much for both of you.
Any other questions or comments from committee? Just a reminder, as Mr. Ridgway pointed out, we are only talking about the transfer of ownership of the retail liquor license today. The ability of, or the decision whether a gaming license could be used at that location has already been determined by the county commissioners as given to them by state statute under their authority. So we are only talking about the transfer of the ownership of the retail liquor license. With that in mind, I just have one question, Mr. Ridgway. Is it safe to say or truthful to say that even if this liquor license weren't to be transferred, your gaming facility could continue, it could operate there with or without a liquor license? It's not contingent upon a liquor license. Obviously, it's people, I'm assuming people who are, drinking and enjoying themselves are going to stay longer and play longer, but it's not, just because a liquor license wouldn't be transferred would not mean that you would not necessarily have gaming there.
Councilwoman Aldrich, that's correct. We could theoretically put machines in there today if we wanted to. The point would be that there is a contingency in the acquisition agreement related to the real estate and the assets of DTs that, you know, for us to close that transaction, we have to receive approval of the liquor license transfer. So if it's not transferred, theoretically, the license could stay there with the existing operator. We could lease space and just put games in there if we wanted to.
Great, thank you. Okay, is there any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Cook and a second from Councilman White. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Okay, this item will be moved forward to the meeting of the city council on Monday evening with a recommendation to approve. Next item, please.
Number 18C, professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Lotus Engineering and Sustainability LLC for the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, CCAP, preparation for Cheyenne, Wyoming, from EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, CPRG.
Hey, staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Finance Committee. For the record, my name is Sophia Mays. I am the Sustainability Specialist for the City of Cheyenne under the Planning and Development Department. I'm here today to give the staff report for item 18C, a professional services agreement between the City of Cheyenne and Lotus Engineering and Sustainability LLC. This is for the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, which is which is a component of the CPRG planning grant, climate pollution reduction grant from the EPA. This agreement is for a total of $299,985 and will consist of services such as greenhouse gas emissions and co-pollutant inventory creation and analysis, reduction targets and measures, community engagement, workforce development, and economy-wide benefits analysis. The agreement will be funded completely through the CPRG planning grant and will incorporate the entirety of the Cheyenne MSA. The CCAP is the second phase of the CPRG planning grant, which began in February 2024. The first component was the Priority Climate Action Plan, which was also submitted in February 2024. As we prepare for the consultant to join the project, we are continuing outreach efforts with stakeholders and community members, as well as incorporating ongoing and planned sustainability projects into our research and planning efforts. The total budget for the consultant to assist with the development of the CCAP is $300,000. And as stated previously, the budget or this agreement is for $299,985. I stand for questions.
Okay, or do we have any questions from committee? I just had one question for you. Is this requirement part of, is it part of what we had hoped to do with the solar farm and the EPA? Is there any connection there with that grant? Or is this another grant and this is a standalone piece for that grant? It looks like Naismith might be able to help you out there.
Madam Chair, I will attempt to answer. This is the planning component of the CPRG. The solar farm was the implementation component of the CPRG. This is relevant in terms of we plan to incorporate those landfill projects, the methane capture into this CCAP. However, there's no implementation for this portion of it.
That was my question, is that because we know that we weren't selected for that solar farm grant, do we still need this particular study to be completed?
Madam Chair, yes, we do.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from committee? Okay, hearing and seeing none, public comment. Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount not to exceed $299,985.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, this item will move forward with recommendation to approve the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 18D, contract between the City of Cheyenne, Office of Youth Alternatives, and the Laramie County Juvenile Services Joint Powers Board for case management services and substance abuse prevention and evaluation.
Okay, staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, committee members. I'm Brooks Cotton, Assistant Director of Youth Alternatives. We have two items before the committee this afternoon. The first item is a contract between Laramie County Community Juvenile Services Joint Powers Board and Youth Alternatives in the amount of $152,252 to provide juvenile justice prevention, diversion, and case management for the next 2 years. The funding has been in place since July of 22. It has allowed Youth Alternatives to provide services to youth referred by the municipal and circuit court with alternative sentencing opportunities. The second contract is between the Joint Powers Board and Youth Alternatives in the amount of $24,000 to provide substance abuse evaluations and chemical testing to youth in diversion or probation through Youth Alternatives at no charge. The state previously covered chemical testing, but can no longer cover the cost due to budget restraints. Youth Alternatives has kept the cost to a minimum. However, a small fee must be charged to youth and families for chemical testing. For the substance abuse evaluation, youth who have been referred to Youth Alternatives by the court for substance-related offenses are currently being referred to different agencies in the community to complete those evaluations. The families absorb those costs, which can cause financial constraints. The ability to obtain a substance abuse evaluation is considered best practice approach when dealing with substance abuse-related cases. This funding will strengthen the services provided to youth and families and remove financial barriers. I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from committee? Mr. Councilman White. I was just gonna say it.
There's been too many youth.
I was lost, yeah.
That's okay, Jen. I have a question, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through you. So you had indicated two amounts. One was, could you repeat those amounts again, please? Because one was for $152,000.
$252.
I do think I have the number right on. I think I got the right document on
Right.
for the action report. I just think I did not print the right document for the packet. So that's over 2 years, correct?
Correct. Yep.
It adds up to the amount that we have. That was my question. So, no, I have no further questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. So, any other questions from committee? Any public comment? And we'll have the correct documents prior to Monday, so I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve an amount not to exceed $176,252 for a period of 2 years.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 18E, grant between the City of Cheyenne and the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities for a National Forest Grant for protecting source water and reducing wildfire risk for rural communities from the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities grants.
Okay, staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Renee Smith. I'm the Economic Resource Administrator. Before you today is a grant agreement between the U.S. Endowment for Forestry and Communities and the city for an Innovative Finance for National Forest grant for $250,000 to pilot the potential use of the Wyoming State Revolving Fund Loan Program to finance forest restoration activities on the Medicine Bow Route National Forest and Thunder Basin National Grassland. I joined this project about a year ago. And this grant is a culmination of a large interagency coordination effort working to protect our forests and our watersheds. Partners include the U.S. Forest Service, National Forest Foundation, World Resources Institute, Wyoming State Forestry, the Town of Encampment, the Office of State Lands and Investment, Department of Environmental Quality, Carbon and Albany County Emergency Management Agencies, the City of Cheyenne, and the Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities. Side note, not in my notes, by far one of the groups I'm most proud to work with. There are a lot of minds working on protecting our watersheds, and this is exciting. These agencies are all experiencing capacity challenges, and by combining our collective resources, we will be able to accomplish larger scale projects. If this feasibility study that is being funded through the IFNF grant determines that the SRF is a viable funding source, this will be the first financing endeavor of its kind in the country. Using SRF funds to help wildfire fuels reduction and watershed protection and taking advantage of principal loan forgiveness opportunities. In theory, the SRF will pencil out to $1 of our spending investment to $4 worth of work, maximizing the capacity of the Forest Service. The program will pay for outreach and coordination between agencies and communities, legal costs, because there will be quite a few MOUs in place between all of these agencies and planning for the RLF, travel costs, and the development of this feasibility study. There is no cash commitment to the city. The in-kind match is being fulfilled through staff time. We anticipate working with nonprofit organizations such as the Elk Foundation, Ducks Unlimited, and the Conservation Districts to also consider providing future match and gap funds. The two proposed project areas for wildfire fuels reduction are the Rob Roy and Encampment watersheds, which are adjacent to each other. Cheyenne has a history of working with the Forest Service on fuels reduction projects, and the Cheyenne Board of Public Utilities has established agreements in place that will help streamline the administrative work of this grant. Natasha Collins with the World Resources Institute is on Zoom, and Clint Bassett with BOPU is here to help answer the technical questions.
Are there any questions from committee? Any public comments?
Ms. Collins, did you want to say anything?
No, I think Renee laid it out perfectly clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, hearing or seeing no public comments, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount of $250,000.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson to approve this item. Is there any discussion from committee? I appreciate your hard work on this innovative grant. This is exciting work to have this extent of collaboration, I believe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 18F, grant agreement between the City of Cheyenne Metropolitan Planning Organization, MPO, and the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration to develop a comprehensive safety plan from Federal Highway Administration SS4A grant and 2021 specific purpose option tax fund.
Okay, staff report.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Renee Smith, Economic Resource Administrator. Before you is the grant agreement for between the MPO and the Department of Transportation for the Safe Streets for All comprehensive safety plan. I am helping MPO at the moment, just working through their the grant administration piece for this. We were awarded $200,000. There's a $50,000 grant match that is going to be $17,500 from the county, $32,500 from the 6 penny grant match funds to conduct this work. The final has to be ready to go by August of 2026. So MPO is planning on moving forward with a consultant within the next few months.
Okay, are there any questions from committee?
Take it back.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Councilman
through you. Renee, if you could just refresh my memory on the 6 penny pot of money that the 50 grand is coming from.
Yes,
Because
sir.
I
Madam-
saw that and I was like, I don't recall that, but maybe I can get a little bit more information on that.
Sure, Madam Chair, through you. So in 2021, the voters did approve a $3 million grant match pot of money that we're allowed to use for federal grants. And we had requested from the mayor when we submitted the application to be able to use city money for this because the MPO does not have funds to match.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Okay, any public comment? Hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount of $200,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman White, a second from Councilman Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. Next item, please.
Number 19A, contract modification number 1 to contract number 7975 between the City of Cheyenne and TPT Trails for additional design build services and trail maintenance for the Belvoir Ranch Phase 2 Design Build Trail Project from the Belvoir Recreation Fund.
Staff report, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Finance Committee, Tom Cobb, City Engineer. Before you and for your consideration is the contract modification number 1 to contract number 7975 for TPT Trails. So as Jennifer opens this, I'd give a little bit better picture of what this is.
Oh, that's the wrong one. I am not on it today.
It's a Monday.
I just wanted to give you more of a visual. This just kind of gives you an idea of the overall. So the top left there, oops.
I'm just gonna share my screen, so hold on just a
Okay.
minute. Just give me
So the top left is sort of the overall picture of the Belvoir, just to get a scale. And then you see the small red area that we're looking at here. That's the first, this is what I'm considering the first phase of the trail system that we were talking about before. The bottom left is more of a detailed piece. If you can go down just a hair, Jennifer. Then you can see there's a purple area to the left. That was the phase 1 that was previously in front of you. And then to the right is the reddish area. This is the contract modification we're looking for. So in this case, we're looking at an additional 35,200 lineal feet or 6.67 miles of trail for a total of 13.14 miles. And again, previously we were at 6.47. We're asking for the 6.67. And then we're asking to extend the completion date from June 15th of this year, which they are done with their phase 1, to June 30th of 2025. And then in addition to this, as I was thinking through this, as the request of both the project managers on my side, we were trying to take advantage of the price to keep it the same. So we're basically getting the trail system, almost double the trails for the same price that we were looking at before. Plus, in addition to that, I started thinking about how are we going to maintain these trails? So I asked TPT to put together a proposal to maintain these trails for 2 years, to give us time as a city to decide how we're really going to move forward with maintaining these trails, because we can't just build them and leave them. They're not going to stay. So TPT will then, with this contract mod, maintain both the trail systems for 2 years of maintenance that would begin in December of 24 and continue through November of 26. In addition to the 2 trails that they build, we have another trail system. If Jennifer, you could go down just a hair, please, I'm sorry. So the area that the fatter green section in the middle, which is the circle there, is the universal trail that's going to come out with another bid package. This would be the one where we build the restroom, the trailhead, and the road, and the universal trail would be built then. But this maintenance would be for them to be included in the universal trail as well. So with that, the contract modification for just the trail system alone is $176,000, and then an additional $40,000 for the maintenance, for a total of $216,000 for the change order. And this would become from the Belvoir Recreation Fund. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have of me.
Hey, any questions from committee? I believe I saw Councilman Johnson's hand.
Yes, is it okay if I go first? I didn't hear Jeff or Brian speak. Okay, so I guess, Tom, kind of what I asked for on the pump house project, seeing on this first 6.67 miles of trail compared to this change order. So are we planning on opening the initial one that we had first so that at least we can get people out there on the trails? Or are we now holding off, waiting for all of the trail system that under even this change order before we open it up to people?
Madam Chair, through you to Councilman Johnson, to answer your question, sir, we have to wait till we get the road built. So that package is being completed by a separate consultant. This was a design build, so that's why we were able to do it so quickly. The other one, we're waiting for the consultant to finish that bid package. So we won't have it open and didn't plan on opening until June of next year. So we still plan for that date to occur, but we're looking at next year at the earliest.
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee? Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve in an amount not to exceed $216,000.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman White and a second from Councilman Cook. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 This item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at the next meeting of the council. We do have one other item for the agenda, so Jennifer, if you would read that.
Other items for the agenda, 2023 to 2025 collective labor agreement renegotiation between the City of Cheyenne and Cheyenne Firefighters Local Union Number 279, International Association of Firefighters.
Hey, staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Committee. John Copper, Fire Chief, Cheyenne Fire Rescue. The item you have before you today for consideration is the renegotiated collective labor agreement between the City of Cheyenne and the local firefighters union 279. On Monday, August 12th, a special meeting was held after the regular meeting of the City Council where conditions were presented to the city and union regarding the potential renegotiation of the labor contract. Each side presented requests and changes to the contract. For the public safe that was not in attendance, the major negotiated terms evolved around the addition of the 9 safer positions in the contract. The union requested the additional positions to be added, and the city requested management rights to administer and supervise those positions. Other changes included updating the pay chart to reflect the cost of living adjustments that happened back in January, and some cleanup language that needed to be addressed. Nothing has changed since the special meeting on Monday. I respectfully request approval and stand for questions, and thank you for taking this under other items.
Are there any questions or comments from committee? Councilman Johnson, is your hand raised?
Yes, it's up again. So, John, I just want to tell you thank you for all of your work on what you've done so far. When Michelle and I and Ken attended Coffee and Council, one of the concerns was in regards to growth. And so the fact that the three of us could actually talk about, putting our Safer Grant employees under the general fund, as well as your work on Coyote Ridge and the South College fire stations. That's one of those things that we have kind of been telling people about in regards to the next 6 penny when people ask us those projects. So I do really want to commend you on your work and everything that you've done over the last 3.5 years to give us the answers and the confidence that we can approach our constituents with, that we're not just sitting idly.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. And just to follow up on that, to kind of give you some further ammunition today, we're sitting through accreditation, and we have a counter going on total square mileage. When I came into this office, we were at 29.67 square miles. As of today, we are at 38 square miles, which is a 32% increase over the last 3.5 years. So I just wanted to add that.
I think that's 1 fireman per square mile, according to my calculations. So, any other questions or comments from committee? Any public comment? Okay, hearing or seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Cook and a second from Councilman White. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this item will move forward with a recommendation to approve at Monday night's meeting of the council. We've accomplished our agenda today. Have a great day, and please remember to vote tomorrow.